cops kind of do need to get a handle on white people calling cops on innocent black people. Like, let's say a white person calls a cop on an innocent black person just selling lemonade or something. Guess what? These unnecessary calls can make it harder for people with actual emergencies to get help. Now, not all white people are like this, since I've heard of very few cases, on the news at least, where this has happened. But, like, you should really, like, be more careful. You can't just call the police randomly like that. There were some people who did it. I know you'd be like, oh, there's a black person, I feel totally unsafe, but it's like, think about this. Those cops could have been spending their time going out to help somebody. Instead, they are wasting their time with you. If you have an actual emergency or the black person in the neighborhood is actually one that could hurt people, then maybe you're in luck and they came over. But like legit, if you're just calling like the police just because, or just because you want them to take that black person to jail, they can't just jail innocent people. The jails are already getting too full as it is. They need that space for actual criminals that are actually dangerous. And please, don't let white people get off the hook just because they're white. You know, like, they would take crimes that happen to innocent people and pin it on an innocent person. And what's even worse is that some of these people were raped. So they take those crimes and pin it on black people who did not commit the rape, even though all the evidence suggests that they did not commit the rape. And it feels like they're using the person that was raped as sort of a piggyback. It may sound horrible, it may sound shocking, but it's actually not that shocking after everything that's happened in the world that maybe someone would use a rape victim as a piggyback for their own agenda. What I mean is that they'll ride on the back of this rape victim to get this black person in jail. Even though the rape victim may say, well, that wasn't the one that raped me and stuff. They may exclude her from coming to trial and say, oh, he raped her, and never actually get her actual rapist in prison. This rape victim could be a white chick. They could actually do this to a white woman, even though they claim to care about white women. That's the weird thing. It seems like these people are just self-serving. Like, it doesn't seem like they have a whole white people are super valuable, I should protect them complex. It's more like a black people are horrible, I should get rid of them. What if they do something to me? Like, it doesn't seem like I care more about white people. It's more like I just hate black people more than I care about anyone else. And then I hate anyone else. Like, they don't really care about other people. They just care about getting rid of black people. And that's how they can ride on the backs of rape victims and not get the actual rapist to jail and just put the black person in jail for no reason.
An FBI investigation found that an ex-Georgia cop had bragged in text messages about basically beating black people in the community and also specifically charging them in such a way that it would make it difficult for them to vote. So he got caught, luckily, because the FBI was investigating this. They were investigating his texts. And initially, this was an investigation into illegal weapons. During these text exchanges, which were with other extremists, by the way, Cody Richard Griggers of Montrose was fired last November after the FBI contacted the sheriff there about the investigation into illegal guns and their alleged ties to a California man said to have made violent political statements on Facebook. Now, Griggers, that's the cop here, in text was said to have claimed that he was making and gathering illegal firearms and explosives. So
I do suspect the cop was a terrorist. He had illegal weapons, firearms, explosives. What do you think he'd do with them?
So naturally, the FBI is like, we better look into that. And they did. FBI searched Griggers' patrol car and found a machine gun with an obliterated serial number, a weapon he was not allowed to have in his patrol car. An unregistered short barrel shotgun was found in his home, the statement went on. In all, between the defendant's residence and duty vehicle, officers found 11 illegal firearms. So he has already pleaded guilty to that, and he's facing a maximum of 10 years in prison as a result. Luckily, he's an ex-cop. He's not, a deputy or anything.
I would like to appreciate the FBI on this one, since they saw the warning signs of a terrorist. a dangerous, racist person who most likely would kill many with his problematic beliefs and acted on it.
More. But the second part of this is how he was communicating to other extremists about the way he feels about black people in the community. So he, of course, texted all sorts of racist and bigoted things. He expressed viewpoints consistent with racially motivated violent extremism, including the use of racial slurs, slurs against homosexuals, gay people, and making frequent positive references to the Nazi Holocaust. Prosecutors
not going to lie. I thought this man was a neo-Nazi. Neo-Nazis hate gay people, Jews, black people, and believe in white supremacy. They are recruited as young men who have bad families. Here's the thing. If you come from an abusive household, it is very possible you'd go into violent behavior. You were raised with parents who did violent things and didn't care. You may see it as normal and do it as a solution or idea. They may be racist and will harm others for fun like they did you. Children learning from wicked adults can cause very problematic situations to occur. A person with a normal childhood may not join neo-Nazis due to the fact that their parents taught them this was wrong, along with violence not being condoned in the home. Seen as abnormal and looked down upon, but in an abusive household, the parent wants to be able to be violent, creates a million excuses, see their horrible reasoning as good reasoning.
Said in a statement announcing Grigors' plea. I'm going to give you an example of something that he had written. I beat the expletive out of racial slur Saturday. Expletive tried to steal a gun magazine from the local gun store. Sheriff's department said it looked like he fell, meaning he beat him up so much that he looked like he fell and suffered a serious injury. The affidavit noted, quoting Grigors. Grigors went on to write that the beating was for him sweet stress relief.
Now, in all honesty, this cop had weapons that not even cops were allowed to have. If you have a weapon that not even cops are allowed to have, I assume that you are a terrorist. This is because those weapons would have to be really bad, really dangerous, which is why they are very illegal. And you just so happen to have 11 of them, along with explosives.
And he also bragged about how he was intending to charge the guy and ensure that he would be unable to vote in the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So those last two things are so important. One is, I mean, look at this. We have deeply racist cops. Not all of them in this. Like, look, I think their training is horrific throughout the country, and it teaches a culture of extreme violence towards the citizens. So that does apply, unfortunately, to everyone. Some people can resist it, but it's a few good apples, okay? But when it comes to racism, not all the cops are this over-the-top white supremacist racist, but there are a lot. Now, I want you to think about a couple of things about that. Okay, if you're not black, it doesn't affect you at all. So presumably, if you're white, right? And so you never notice it. But think about if you were black. There are a certain percentage of cops out there who have a gun and a badge and pretty much a near, untouchable status.
He's kinda right in some cases. These racists are very dangerous. This guy even had bombs, meaning if they didn't catch it sooner like they did, those bombs would kill a lot of people.
And some of them are vicious racists. And they can't wait to beat the living crap out of you to just get what he said was, quote, sweet stress relief.
I had a cop tell me once that being a cop was extremely stressful. He was from India. He was guarding my mostly black church. Before COVID hit us, he was nice to me. I was nice back.
How does that make you feel? And that guy, is he gonna be hesitant to use his gun against an unarmed black man? And so, I mean, think about the terror of walking around knowing you don't know which one, but a certain percentage of cops can't wait to attack you for just who you are, just for being black. He doesn't know a thing about you, but he wants to attack you. Now, that's not every cop, but just the fact that it's a lot of cops, it's so unbelievably disconcerting. And the fact that other people can't have empathy for that is just borderline shocking.
I also find the hiring process for local police departments shocking. I know that there's no uniform policy, and I'm sure it differs from one department to the next. But just experiencing what it was like to witness my husband go through the very extensive background check process to become a firefighter, which he didn't end up doing, but we went through the process. It is incredibly invasive. I mean, we're talking about being a firefighter. They show up to the building you live in, they knock on every neighbor's door, they interview every neighbor. They called me and asked me if I've ever dealt with any domestic abuse. I mean, it's just very thorough. It's just like a robust investigation into the person applying.
I wondered why I never heard of firefighters being dangerous or something stupid like this, and I thought it was because
Wicked.
people don't care enough about others to run into literal fires for them. Now I know that they have a very extensive background check.
And I just get the sense that with some police departments, that type of background check isn't taking place. Like, this guy is not only an extreme racist, but he had 11 illegal weapons. I mean, how did this guy get hired? That's what I want to know.
And how does he stay on the job until they discover this stuff? Does no one heard him saying outrageous racist things,
right,
which he says apparently on a regular basis? No one at the department heard him.
No one saw the weird weaponry, the terrorist remarks, stuff like that. No one heard anything. Well, of course they wouldn't. I mean, you're not going to bring up straight up terrorism just up in the courthouse. Like, you don't want to go to jail.
No, thin blue line. You know what happened. People heard it and they covered up for it. And they thought, who cares if he beats up black people? Or maybe.
Well, since they thought, who cares? I mean, at least in real life, they didn't, the FBI took it on and they reported it. But like I'm sure they didn't know, and I'm sure he hid his racism. But if anyone is in this situation and they do know that a person is like this, especially if they know they have bombs and explosives, if that sucker end up using them bombs and explosives, I don't know what to say about the people who actually knew he was this crazy. Like, okay, so in real life, these guys, they did do something about it. The FBI did something about it. The police station reported him, so they did something about it too. And I don't think they actually knew the guy was racist, or that he had a bunch of explosives and illegal weapons, or that he was even in contact with extremists. However, if anyone else did this, like let's say there's a guy named Todd and he was very extreme. I'm talking about a different person here, and the people around him knew it but didn't do anything about it. If Todd ends up blowing up a place, I mean, I don't know what to say about the people around him who like knew about it, because y'all knew something was wrong with Todd. Y'all just didn't do anything about that. Let's just be glad that these people actually did something about it and stopped him before he blew up a trade center or something.
Or maybe even kills them at some point. What's more important is solidarity for our gang. Keep it real. If you don't think there's a thin blue line, you're nuts. Of course there is. They brag about it, right? So what does a thin blue line mean? That means we protect criminals in our midst. It's like literally what it means. And I don't want you to gloss over that sweet stress relief thing. Again, it's not every cop, but are there some decent percentage of cops who beat up people because they think it's cathartic and they get off on it, and they're frustrated about their lives and they think, I could beat up people with impunity?
The cop may have been a sadist. A sadist is a person who enjoys inflicting pain on others. Some people like to beat things to relieve stress.
And they do it basically for fun. If you think that doesn't exist, you're incredibly naive. So now, because we know that's part of human nature, we should guard against that. We should have a lot of precautions to make sure that police do not abuse their authority like that. Instead, we encourage them to do it. Oh, if anybody disrespects your order for even a split second, make sure that you viciously attack them to show who's boss. And that's why we see the videos of a 73-year-old woman getting mangled.
Right.
You saw the elderly gentleman in Buffalo get his skull cracked, because if anybody crosses you for a second, you get to have sweet stress relief. And it is encouraged by police departments all across the country. Keep it real. That's just the reality of our lives.
If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more content on this channel.
So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.
Remember to watch more YouTube videos from my channel. There is a link in the description to more of my works.
God bless you all. See you until next time.